Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first monologue of 2025. Um, Today, we're talking about mining, and it's a follow up on a number of conversations we had last year. Um, Notably, Lynn Ngugi had a discussion with one Professor Ichangi from University of Nairobi Earth Sciences Department about mining and the minerals we have in Kenya. And I'm approaching this, I'm asking in relation to what Lin Gugi's in depth conversation with the professor, how does that connect to the way in which many Kenyans are losing their lives in artisanal mining, in mine collapses, and that kind of thing? Is it connected at all? Well, yes, it is. Now, the conversation Lynn had with the professor talked about the minerals we have in this country, the licensing and exploitation of them, and how it benefits us or not. The mine collapses and the resultant deaths. I mean, these have been numerous. Migori, uh, Ikolomani in Kakamega. There was even one in Bondo, and even our two in West Pokot. They've been mine collapses. And every time it's people wringing their hands, we don't know what to do. Nothing's ever been done about any of those things. Um, and this is the reason why our government, in all its policies and structures, does not have any, does not countenance Black Africans exploiting mineral resources for material gain. Because if they did, they'd have the regulations we have around in all other sectors. They would have licenses, we'd have training, even a simple thing like driving a car. You go to driving school, you get trained in theory, you get tested, then you get licensed, and you renew that license. And you can get censured in various ways for violating that license. There are norms that you have to maintain your car in certain ways. You have to have tires, lights, etc. In mining sector, there's nothing because we were not supposed to do this. We were not supposed to exploit our minerals. And there was a tacit agreement, whether written or not, I don't know. But with the former colonies, there was a tacit agreement that colonies will not exploit their own resources for their own gain. And this is because colonialism, remember, as I've said several times, was not a political exercise, it was a capitalist exercise. They were not here to engage with us in any way. They wanted the resources, and that's why they came, because they had run out of resources in Europe or were running out. That's why they came. So the resources were for them. There was no point in their tenure here where they would feel the need to develop any structures or policies through which we, the owners of the resources, could exploit it. That would be against their aims. Now, after they left, they injected us with the poison of indolence and intellectual laziness and imperialism, which has thrived in Kenya. So 63 years after independence, 62 years after independence, we have no policy that can govern a local person mining anything. We have no training, we have no equipment, we have no standards for mining. So anyone going local, going mining, sort of, yeah, your life is in your own hands. Now let's look at mining. It was a key part of the colonial project, that still remains pretty much unchanged X number of years later. It is the most primitive, basic form of extraction of resources from one place to another. So it must be treated with caution. Why do we talk about mining licenses? Mining licenses should be a nominal fee, basic application fee. Mining is about royalties, what is being extracted and what the local people, the local the state government gains from what is being extracted. That's royalties. So in Kenya, you find there's a situation of licensing, and our Ministry of Mining is just a brokerage. It's clerical work. They facilitate licenses and write licenses and issue licenses for things they don't know. How do you issue a license for something that's underground? You don't know how much it is. So how much is one supposed to pay? Should issue a permit, then take royalties. And with royalties, it involves monitoring every bit that's removed. And you realize that our trading systems are against that. If you read in the books, so many African countries, if you read about their exports, you are told that they export ores, iron ore, tin ore, bauxite, whatever, aluminium ore. So we are exporting soil and rocks and processed minerals. Once they're taken out there, the mining company smelts and removes the iron or whatever, then reports back to us that, oh, out of the 50,000 tons of ore we exported last year, we have removed 1 ton of steel or iron. So here is your $500, whatever 1 ton of steel costs, $5,000. And that's why we can have countries with untold mineral wealth, but you cannot see any appreciable material wealth gain from the exploitation, which has gone on for, in many instances, for a century or more. And if you look at what happened recently in Tanzania during the regime of the late President Magufuli, their mineral earnings went up exponentially. Not that they discovered anything, any new mineral. He just changed the agreements, got auditors, rewrote the agreements, backdated payments, and told them, here's your bill, pay up or ship out, because you can't take the mine with you. Look what recently happened in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore was recently inaugurating a whole consignment of gold being deposited into the country's treasury. They didn't discover any new gold mine. They just changed the agreements with the existing ones, away from the laziness which was there. Because evil, as my friend one day Enjoy recently said, is rarely an intellectual exercise. So much evil is just perpetrated and extended by laziness. The the evil of the imperial colonialists has just been extended to us by the laziness of the governments that came after them in independence and their indolence. Some of these mining operations require technical expertise that may or may not be available here. So we can engage foreign companies to do it, but still we have to have good agreements. But let's talk about those that are simple. Which are these simple ones? Magadi soda ash. Those who have been to Magadi, you can see the trona, the calcium carbonate. You're walking on it. You can scoop it up with a shovel and a wheelbarrow if you need to. There's no technical expertise there. Anyone who can dig a ditch can extract trona from there. But foreign lease coming to an end, we are looking to extend or find another foreign lessor. We have no plans to nationalize that resource, right? If you look at the titanium in Kwale, I participated in the environmental impact assessment of their operations, and I asked out of curiosity, like, what does this titanium look like? I'm looking for the mine, I can't see it. And this guy I was working with just stooped down and picked up a grain of sand and said, you see these dark grains here? That's titanium. So what they are doing is just shoveling up the soil into trucks, taking it to their operation center, and it's run through a centrifuge that separates the titanium from the rest of the soil at a certain speed, and they return the soil back to where they shoveled it from. It was on the ground, we were walking on it. There is no reason why we can't exploit that ourselves. But the laziness, the imperialism, it's so much easier. Take a few $1 million from this guy, give him a license, tell him to build a local school somewhere, build some few boreholes, and Let him take his billions of dollars. And this now is the problem that faces so many places around the world. And mining shows itself as the remnant of extractive colonialism. Because even now, find the most powerful, successful mining companies around the world. They're domiciled in settler colonies. Australia, Canada, United States are prime examples. Very huge, powerful mining companies. And since I got into the indigenous rights space, working for an organization called Survival International, I've learned that there's huge untold numbers of deaths of indigenous rights activists, particularly in South and Central America. And there it's not conservation, because my angle to it was conservation. There it's mining. And these are activists trying to protect their lands, their rivers, their forests, and the mining interests have them killed. And these are almost exclusively American and Canadian companies doing this. This is why we have to be very mining is a very it's a potentially very dangerous thing if not done right. I mean, if any state cannot put in policies to ensure local indigenous ownership of whatever resources are there, then it's better to leave those minerals in the ground. Because especially when it's precious, it's gold, it's oil, it's whatever, in some cases lithium or uranium or whatever it may be. If something is that precious, people will be killed for it. People will be displaced for it. There is no human right which will stand in the way of capital exploitation of such precious resources. So we have to treat mining with the caution it deserves. If you talk about Kenya, we need to have a ministry of mining headed by someone slightly more, um, by someone slightly more fitting of governing such a precious resource. We need to take it more seriously. It's not just a place to put someone. But this is the laziness that advances evil all over the world. When people choose not to think about things, the evil just thrives. Evil doesn't need input. Once it's been structured, it can continue. Actually, the input, it's justice that needs input. If you look at some of the exceptions in Africa, I've mentioned Burkina Faso, Tanzania. Niger is also taking over their uranium mines. South Africa has made a lot of money from its mines, gold and diamonds and various other minerals. But that's because in South Africa, the colonizers, because of its apartheid history and all that, the colonizers who needed to extract this were within the country. The exploiters were within the country. The capitalist imperative was within the country. So the gains have stayed within the country, even though admittedly they have not really percolated into the wider population. And you can see even with the Group Areas Act, people were there was social engineering to move huge numbers of people from their homelands and settle them near the mines for cheap labor. And this went on, this was generations ago. Even now that the Group Areas Act, etc., is over, these people can't go back. Well, I mean, if my grandfather was, or my great grandfather was moved away from Nyanza, then suddenly you tell me today that I'm free to go back to Nyanza, I wouldn't go. Where do I go in Nyanza? Do I go to Migori or Siaya? Or I don't even know where my grandfather was moved from. And these are the lasting effects that the advent of freedom cannot change. We have to address it through another level of seeking of justice. um, Namibia is only now coming to terms with its the brutal past under German colonialism. But even as they address that and trying to get back the remains of their ancestors who were killed, beheaded by the Germans, and the skulls taken to Germany, There's a whole part of Namibia that Namibians cannot step into because it's so rich in diamonds, and the mining company owns it, and it's on the pain of death. You will be shot if you go into there. These are the things we have to think about with mining. It's not just digging in the ground. It's who's doing it, who's benefiting from it, who's getting paid or not getting paid, who's losing their land. Um, Africa, in Africa or any place where people are indigenous, we are attached to the land. When you want to take something that's under this land, you have to displace me, and that's trauma. Where are you taking me? I saw with the exploitation of titanium in Kwale, there was a whole program of exhumation of graves. I'm not sure if they went back and got reburied in the place after they extracted the titanium, but that's how attached we are, and we must ask ourselves, how valuable is this to us as a people? There are countries which have only been hurt from mining. Democratic Republic of Congo has only received pain. This is starting from way back the killing of Lumumba 1961. Their mineral wealth has only brought them pain. So we must think about creating our structures. I think the colonial structures have long reached their sell by date. Now we have to get rid of the lazy people that, or the laziness that the colonialists put in place, and the entitlement. Then we have people who are willing to do the complicated work, because life by definition is complicated. Let's not think minerals are simple issues. There's so much around it, but it's the imperialist thinking that keeps us focused on, oh, there's X amount of gold under this Mordecai's village. That's to reduce our thinking to to the level of those primitive people who came to exploit us, and after completely destroying their own homelands and exhausting whatever they had. So let's think about that. How mining that's what mining is. It's not just like hole in the ground, it's a whole history, it's a whole social policy and cultural field that we must think about. It's not just what's happened digging the ground today and pulling something out. It's about sovereignty, and it's about us.